Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Dental Startup Show. I am really excited to be with someone extremely special on this end of year episode. And I couldn't have asked to be with someone that I admire more than Dr. Laura Mach. Dr. Laura, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me on here and for saying you admire me.
Oh, yes, of course. We had the opportunity of meeting at the Do event, and we had a coffee chat after that. And we hit it off so much that I said, like I would love to showcase your experience and your journey. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity to pick your brain today, and especially around this time of the year. So this is a live event, and those of you who are watching, just let us know in the comments if you're able to hear us and see us okay. And as you're joining us, let us know where you're watching from, and let us know if all the audio it's working properly. So I see that some people are joining us, and we have a very special episode today. So I want you guys to stay tuned till the end. So let me see in the comments. I just want to wait for someone to say something because I see some people joining us live. And if you can just let us know, give us a thumbs up wherever you're watching from, be it this is being broadcasted on YouTube, on social media, Facebook, and also on LinkedIn. So I just want to make sure. Let me just see if we're good to go. And it seems like we are good to go. Perfect. So
Great.
Today's episode is empowering female dentists. And I have, as I said before, someone. Audio is great. Thank you so much for letting me know. Why I want everyone to watch this episode till the end, or watch the replay if you're coming in and you're busy seeing patients today. Dr. Mach is not just a distinguished general dentist, but she's also an inspiring life coach. And she's the founder of a podcast, Love Your Practice podcast. She's dedicated her career to empowering female dentists, to being able to helping them find joy and fulfillment in their practices. And to me, her journey is one of passion, resilience, and success. And today she's here to share with us invaluable insights, just to keep us grounded and to make sure that we hit the ground running in 2024 for a very fun and fulfilling year. So thank you so much, Dr. Mach, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. And thanks for saying those nice things about me too. And I love your hat. It's very
Thank
festive.
you.
Very
Yes, we were just chatting. I just ran from my son had a Christmas party this morning. So I was just like, I need to get into the holiday mode. And I was just like, oh, I think this will be a nice touch to our live episode today. So I'm just gonna, without further ado, I just want to jump into what I want as a student myself of the work that you do. I want to start off with your journey. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. And for those of you who are joining us live, any questions that you have along the way, post them in the comments. I'll make sure to ask these questions, or we'll get back to you later on. But one of the very first things that I want to talk about is your more or less kind of like your path to passion, right? So can you share with us, what inspired you, first of all, to pursue a career in dentistry? And how was your journey from transitioning into becoming a life coach for female dentists?
So I had a very circuitous entry into dentistry. I was raised in a culture where girls stay home with their babies. And I had basically an economic need. So I worked as a dental assistant, and I saw what the dentist was doing, was a man, of course. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I could do that. I'm almost sure that I could. And that mixed with the need that I had to be more secure financially led me to, as a mother, enroll in pre-dental courses and get accepted into dental school.
Wow, that's amazing. So tell me a little bit about, because I think one of the things, and now you transition into being a life coach. And when you and I connected at the Do event, it was one of the things that impacted me, because we are all there seeking support and help, because we have this need, right? Or we have this wish of becoming business owners or starting a career, and we face so many challenges and setbacks, economic challenges and things like that. Now you're also a practice owner, so when I talked about resilience, right, starting out, then tell me about having small children and getting into dental school, starting your career as a dental assistant. I also started my career as a dental assistant. Tell me, how did you get into starting your practice, Marion Dental, in Iowa, your practice, which is a state-of-the-art facility where I saw the videos, the website, and it's just an amazing, you can see from, first of all, when I met you in person, like your energy and how fun you are to be around with is just something that I just have to throw out there. I had the opportunity and pleasure of meeting you in person, and it's hard to receive that across the screen, but I just want to make sure everyone knows how amazing you are in person. But you went through this journey of starting as a dental assistant, having all of these challenges as a young mom, went through the process of getting accepted into dental school, which is such a huge accomplishment, and then finished dental school. Tell me about your journey into starting your own practice.
So yeah, when I graduated, I had 3 small children and I was 32. And in my mind, I was way behind the curve.
Mm.
Like in my mind, I was like, I haven't even started saving for college. What am I going to do with these babies? I have $180,000 in student loans, which back then was a lot. It's not now, but back then it was way more than my classmates. And I just really felt like I needed to be an owner. And I didn't know how little I understood about leadership and business ownership. And so I just jumped in and I bought a practice. I was like, this is fine. I'll just buy this. And that was back in the day when you could get 105% of the value of the practice financed, which is what I did. And the practice that I bought was very bread and butter, very let's patch this, let's watch this, let's wait to make a move on it. And so when I bought the practice, it was financially viable and it had a lot of potential. And that's what we did. We just, the seller worked for me and I worked to grow the practice. I did a lot of Medicaid dentures, a lot of Medicaid pop or soda mouths, Mountain Dew and all that stuff, a lot of fillings and root canals and just super basic stuff as I started to just grow that practice in from a one dentist practice to a two. And over time, my style and I could see what I was good at, which is to really assure a nervous patient and communicate well with the patients. I could see that that was what I was good at. And so I created a practice that capitalized on good communication.
Beautiful. So capitalizing on good communication, I think that that's a really good insight, because a lot of us really, we're in the business of relationships, and you cannot have a great relationship unless you are good at communicating with people. So that's great. And so so from being a business owner, being new at leadership, owning a practice, and being a new owner and employer, you understood your capacity to potentially communicate with the patients and shift the business model, right? From starting, and some of your podcasts and interviews that you had on your podcast that I encourage people to listen to, talks a lot about shifting that, and you experienced this yourself, shifting from that insurance driven practice into more of designing the type of practice that you want to run, and lowering that dependency, or being more fee for service. And that's kind of like a different conversation, because I want to stay within the journey and the inspiration to get some of our doctors motivated into 2024. I do a lot of startup consulting. Most of my clients are dentists who are just dreaming about getting into their first dental practice. And so my goal is to help them build that foundation of designing that practice where they are able to be fulfilled and profitable. But I am not a dentist, right? I'm also a business owner. And so I want to hear from you, what, being a business owner, what motivated you to start the podcast? And not just to start the podcast, but how did you go from running your practice into becoming a leadership coach, a life coach?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to answer that question, and I want to give a tiny sliver of advice to your dreamers who are listening to you. Okay. So, how did I become a coach in addition to a practice owner? Was very simple, which was that once I bought my practice, it's very easy to own a dental practice in Iowa. If you hang out your shingle and you sign up with the insurance companies, the people will come. Okay. And so they did. And the practice grew and grew and grew until it was very big for being just me. Eventually the seller left and it was just me. And I, like anyone else, am a product of what my brain is thinking. And my brain continued to take me down this misery road where I was just tired and I was dreading it. And there were all these people who depended on me. And there were all these problems and mistakes. And I was always worried about my practice, even though it was big and successful. And it started to show that my misery was present because my leadership was not as good. My numbers were going down. And I personally got a coach. It wasn't a coach for dentists. It was a simple life coaching situation where I was able to look inside myself, look at my thoughts and my feelings, and understand how those two things were affecting how I led my practice. Okay. And it had such an impact on my business that I was like, I should be doing this for other dentists. And so I signed up for the training, and here I am now, 5 years in, and it's so satisfying because there is so much greatness inside each of us to be the leader we want. But if we let our brain's default system be in charge, we are all going to step down that scarcity road and it won't be fun.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that one area, and I'm speaking for myself as well, is that you have to be, for every stage in your life, an ongoing student. And even the best, athletes and the best coaches typically invest in getting coaches, right? Because we go to work, we start our businesses, we are dividing our attention into multiple, different aspects of our roles in life, right? That of an employer, that of a parent, that of a wife or of a daughter or a sister. And so all of these responsibilities a lot of times really take a load on our ability to enjoy and really going back to finding that. And I want to quote something that you said, because you said something, and we've had a conversation about this before, and I want you to touch and elaborate a little bit more, because I felt really compelled to that. And I think a lot of our listeners are going to agree with that. You said, and I quote, "Your perspective impacts your career satisfaction." So if you're not having fun, then look at your thoughts, your thought process, so that you can change your experience. So can you tell us, how was that journey for you? And how can a dentist that it's going through, or what advice do you give me, right? Like, I'm in a situation, I'm not a dentist, I'm not running a dental practice, but I do have a lot of the same, struggles as a business owner, being a mom, being an employer. So tell me a little bit more what this means, and how we can seek for that help, for getting the support that we need in order for us to just enjoy and have more fun in what we do.
Sorry, my daughter is calling me. I need to. It's like,
Let her know you're in.
I'm a good mom.
That's exactly what we're talking about. This is a live event, and live and children just happen, right?
Okay, so can you read my statement again that you wanted me to elaborate on?
Yes, of course. Your perspective impacts your career satisfaction. So if you're not having fun, look at your thought process to change your experience.
Yes. this is the essence of life coaching. What it means is, so our brains are the house of our thoughts, okay? And we are bringing in our sensory data all the time. I can see things, I can hear things, I can smell things, and our brain then goes boop, 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 and decides if that data is good for survival or bad for survival, okay? Well, when you own a dental practice and your brain is trying to keep you safe, sometimes it's going to misattribute information that maybe you need to work on, but that actually doesn't put you in physical danger. Okay. And so it starts to make you see all of the bad crap and not be able to see the good things that are happening, because it wants you to focus on the bad, because your brain thinks that it's protecting you. Are you with me?
Yes.
So that is your default way that your brain exists. But the thing is that brains, they're funny because they have a default way, but you can think about your thinking, and your thinking is actually voluntary, which means that you can go, and I just did this week about my own practice. You can go, okay, brain, I see what you're handing to me, but the way we're dealing with it right now doesn't feel very good, and it's also not very helpful. And so I am going to look at my practice a new way. And then the world is your oyster. You can look at it however you choose. Now, it needs to be a believable way to look at it. But for example, so my practice has had a considerable contraction this year. I just went fee for service 18 months ago, and I've been so focused on seeing these months that I had where I collected fewer dollars than I have in the past, that I forgot to look at how I'm rebuilding something new. And so I was like, oh my goodness, my practice is failing. Look at what's happening. This is terrible. Who's talking about me now and complaining about me? Blah, 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 blah. And I forgot to think about, oh yes, I have this reputation. I have these skills. I have this amazing team. I am rebuilding to where I can practice in a way that creates freedom for me. I didn't think that until I remembered that I wanted to change my perspective. And that's an example of how we can go the way of the brain, like the default protective organism way, or we can rise above it, we can transcend it and think about things in a way that makes us feel better. Does that make
That
sense?
is absolutely, no, I mean, I think that that's absolutely amazing. And I can relate to that exact situation. I remember when I was an office manager for this, the practice that I manage, specifically to your point about reducing and making changes for your business. And I think that working with a coach myself, one of the things that I learned of changing that perspective is sometimes we are either building in our business or we are stabilizing in our business. And so when you feel that you have this momentum going and things are just flowing and happening and new patients are coming in, you may have a campaign, you may have made a new change that is just, you're seeing the result of the behind the scenes intangible time that you've invested onto something productive, then that's your building time. But a lot of times when we are going through a phase where things are not ideal, but you've made a decision, and that decision is going through this transition period. And then through that transition period, you're almost kind of like the caterpillar, that it's not a butterfly and it's not it's not yet, it's not a caterpillar, but it's not yet a butterfly. And that change, that it's chaotic, we tend to focus on that, to your point regarding the brain, how we're defaulted. So this is so insightful that, we have to, the power is in being able to shift our perspective. I totally agree with you. I'm going through the same similar situation, and I'm so like, it gets me so excited to hear that this is just, is not just me, right? Like, we go through these changes.
It's every entrepreneur. Every dentist who owns a practice is an entrepreneur, in my humble opinion.
150%.
And those who are trying to be an owner, same. And I have a tiny piece of advice for them. Is that okay if I give it?
Of course, this is your time.
This is about a perspective change. Okay, so all of you who are there, you're either a brand new owner or you're looking at it. You are going to get how do I say this? You are going to get data that tries to squish your dream. Whether
Mm.
it's when insurance claims get denied, you have a patient complain, you don't have as many new patients as you want, there are going to be forces that try to put your dream in a box. Okay? But there is no rule that says you have to keep that dream in that box. You can keep dreaming, keep making your practice be exactly the way you want it to be because it is your baby. Dentistry is by appointment only. The procedures that you do have to do with what you recommend by what you say that comes out of your mouth and the wishes of your patient. These are the two things that decide your practice. It's not insurance saying, yes, I'm going to pay for that, or no, I'm not, or this angry person complaining about you. Those things are going to happen, but they don't have to rule how you practice. And I encourage you to keep on dreaming and keep on making that dream the focus of your thoughts because that's what's going to help you propel to the next level.
This is so insightful. And so, if you don't mind, I'm going to say or repeat what you just said as a student, and you can correct me if I'm wrong based on my understanding of what you just shared. So, if I'm understanding correctly, what you would recommend if I am your is we are going to by default have this negative thoughts about what it's not working right at the time in any given time for us as entrepreneurs, as parents, in our practices, in our businesses. It is the choices and the perspective of how we see these things. And just to add to what you're saying, something that works with me that I would love to share with our audience is you need to find something that has at some point in your past work to be able to shift that mindset, because you, for instance, have done so many amazing things to get to the point where you are. How many other people are out there just wishing that they have the accomplishments and the resilience that you do? And so for you to take that denied claim and compare yourself to someone and say that this is the end for you, or that you've made the wrong decisions. Every decision that you make in your business is a vehicle for you to get to the next point, and it is okay for you to experience some negativity or some setbacks. Just shift what it is that you're thinking, because it is just basically helping you get to the next point. So it's
Mhm.
shifting that mindset to wherever it is that you're experiencing. And I am experiencing this myself. So it just comes in so very handy to hear that reassurance from you. So thank you for sharing that.
Can I give you an example?
Yes, of
I
course.
did this. I did this. So sometimes a patient is going to need a crown because they have a big old crack in their tooth. Okay. But if the patient only has a one surface alloy on that tooth, insurance is going to deny that claim. Okay. And I learned that the hard way because I'd be like, oh, Mrs. Jones, we really need to crown this tooth. And then we send off the claim happily. And then it comes back denied. And we're like, oh my goodness. And then from that time until I changed my perspective, I thought, well, Mrs. Jones could use a crown on this tooth, but I can't.
Mm, I see what you're saying.
But is that true? Can I not crown it? Or do I need to change how I recommend it to the patient? And so now what I say is you would benefit from a crown. And if you do it, it'll be because you choose to, because I want you to know that your dental insurance might not help you.
Mm.
But if you leave it uncrowned, then these are your risks. And we treat so many cracks in our practice, and almost none of them are covered on insurance. And it's another story because it's the way I treat cracks. It's not by crowns anymore. But my point is that I told myself I couldn't because I ran into one of those blocks that I was referring to, and it changed how I was taking care of my patients instead of giving them the choices that they deserved to have.
That is so amazing, and I so agree with you. And I see so many dentists go through this. And to your point, letting insurance companies or outside um, forces dictate or reprogram or change the way that you, by your clinical skills or your philosophy, just to be able to reduce the quality of care that you're going to provide the patients is just something that you shouldn't allow yourself to get into that box, as you say. And to your point about earlier, you mentioned communication, like how being able to communicate effectively with patients reduces then that friction of, hey, the crown is not getting paid by the insurance company, but there is the process that you followed pre crowning that patient. There are no surprises. So you're not adding to the discomfort or the setbacks from the insurance is not covering a procedure. The fact that the patient is going to come in claiming that there are surprises and having I feel like an educated patient is your best patient or client. And I think you're doing an amazing job on that. So let's talk a little bit about, because I want to be mindful and respectful of your time. A lot of dentists are going to want to do this, especially getting into the new year. Questions that you're probably asked all the time, like how can a dentist really get back into feeling good about their practice? What are some tips and tools that you can share with our audience that they can walk away with and immediately implement to make sure that they hit the year running?
Well, the first step to ever feeling better is to figure out why you're feeling bad in the first place. So you say better, and I go, okay, well, what is the problem? And usually what the problem is a belief, which is a thought habit, one that we think over and over and over again, that we're practicing. And by practicing, I mean that we've made our own little groove in the snow of thinking it over and over and over again until we're always there. Like happened when in the fall, I noticed that my practice was contracting. And I was thinking to myself, oh, here we go. This is the end. You know what I mean? Or some thought like that. And so if you want to feel better, you can't just ignore why you've been feeling like crap. You have to figure out what it is. And that's an awareness practice. So the very easiest thing that you can do to become aware of those negative thought habits that you have is to do what I call a thought download. And it's just very easy. You open up a new email to yourself, or you get out a notebook with a blank piece of paper, and you just write down everything that you think for 5 minutes. And it's not for anybody else but you. You don't have to worry if everything that you write sounds like it's great for posterity or whatever. You just write it all down. And you will be surprised because 99% of it will be negative, and that's okay because that's how brains work. But go through that thought download after you do it and ask yourself what sounds real familiar and also feels like you're getting punched in the gut.
Wow.
Now you know what's been making you feel bad, and that's the first step.
So the first step is basically awareness. I really love that tip about writing an email to yourself. I've practiced, like I journal a lot and I write down a lot of things. And it's almost kind of like like, okay, this is my goals and I'm very goal oriented and push myself really hard. But I think, being aware of what your thoughts are and how you got to that place, I think that's extremely important. I know that you're someone that likes to have fun, right? Like your kids are older, you've really found a way to enjoy and have fun in your practice and in life. And you want to pass that down to every dentist out there, especially our, female community, because we just have so much, as you said earlier, we're trained to think, okay, a woman stays home, watches the kids. And so we have so many burdens in life, right? That even when we start a business, we're always tending to look for the negative things, and we really have a hard time, having fun. And I'll share something personal on that note. I started my career, as I said, as a dental assistant, and then I worked as an office manager. I started feeling shoulder pain very early on, like in the early 2000s. I started my career very a long time ago when I was a teenager, and I just kept on thriving and pushing myself and getting to the next stage and just the next milestone, and then starting the family, buying the house, starting the business, and then growing the business and going through the ups and downs and hiring a team, that I started to get to the point where I've normalized being in pain every single day, where I would just notice when I am not in pain, I will feel good about, like, today I woke up and I could hold a pen or open a bottle of water or something. So I've gone through that myself personally, where I've neglected myself or having fun because I am so pushed into solving everybody else's problems or just the next, goal in my to-do lists, that I've neglected myself or even having fun. So, or if I would try to go to the movies, I wouldn't even be able to enjoy myself having fun because I would be in physical pain. So what is it that you do, being such a busy mom and having a business and having your life coach business, running this podcast, to have fun and continue to have fun and enjoy what it is that you do?
Well, I would like to speak for a moment to your experience, because I think that what's happening here is very quintessential to the women's experience. Is it okay if I talk about
Of
women
course, I'm your student.
for a minute? We grow up from the time that we're very little with a list of shoulds. We should seem pretty. We should make everybody else happy. We should smile, even if we're sad. We should wear that pretty dress so that people will compliment us and how that looks or whatever. And we see our moms putting everybody else first. Okay? And if you get into the habit of doing that and you get into believing that this should is accurate, then of course you're not going to have fun, because we put ourselves last and we make sure everybody else gets what they need. And all we get left is the dregs, which is exhaustion and physical pain, isn't it? Mhm. And so for me, at some point, because of the way I was raised in such a strict household, I decided to reject the shoulds around me being a woman. And I really think that that's at the core of deciding that I was going to have fun. And I realized that I could have fun and love at the same time and show up as a woman in the way that I chose to show up, instead of in the way that society expected me to. And yes, that meant that sometimes I might make somebody uncomfortable, or that I might have to imagine someone being disappointed in me. But if I know that I'm showing up as a human and a woman and a wife and a mother and a dentist in the way that I want to, then that includes having fun, and it includes showing love the way I want to.
That is so powerful. I am like so out of words to express like how powerful and insightful that was. So thank you for that. Any As we wrap up, I just wanted to ask, are there any I want my audience to, again, 100% find your podcast, love your practice. I think that you will find a lot of helpful um episodes there to help our female audience in the industry continue to grow and find ways to continue to have fun and enjoy being a female and being an entrepreneur at the same time. Any last tips or advice as we kick off end 2023 and get into the new year, so that that you want to be able to share with me or with our audience in general?
Well, that's a great question. I do have a free resource that I think anyone who would listen to that would be very enriched and prepare them for the role of being an employer. Would it be okay if I put that out?
100, yes. So one of the things that I would love to do is I just want to make sure people know how to find you. And at the same time, I will make sure that my team includes on the description of this recording your contact information. And if you have any free resources or anything to help our audience, definitely share those with me. I'll make sure to get them out to them. So I really, appreciate that. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a class on how to correct an employee. I have a course that you take that it goes step by step. How to prepare your mind, how to think about their mind, how to say the words, and you prepare it so that if you take the course, then once you're done, you have everything ready to correct one employee on one thing.
Wow, that is super powerful. So I hope everyone takes advantage of this opportunity, because just, from listening to you, this has been such an amazing opportunity. So I appreciate you so much. So as we um, wrap up on this episode, I just want to extend, how grateful I am for you to be able to share your insights and your tips and strategies with us, and provide some coaching for me live, which has been absolutely amazing. And I just want to, to say that it has been very inspiring, and your words of wisdom are definitely very, very absolutely amazing for me to experience. So to our audience, to everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us live and for being part of this episode. I just, remember that the insights and advice that we share here are just the beginning. And I just want to make sure that every practice, that every dentist that I work with, or that is part of my community, not only gets an office that survives. I just want you to thrive, and not thrive just as a business owner, but also thrive as an individual, as a woman, as a mother, as a partner, as a daughter, as a member of the community, and add more value to yourself and to those around you. So, for everyone listening and watching, Dr. Mac is going to share with us some free resources. So stay tuned for that. And make sure that you subscribe to my channel, The Dental Startup Journey, so that you can be part of anytime I do have a great interview like the one I just had with Dr. Mac, that you get notified for that. And until next time, just, keep smiling, keep thriving, keep pushing yourselves, and happy holidays to everyone watching. Thank you so much, Dr. Mac,
Thank
for
you.
being with us today.
Thank you.